What if I told you that McLaren is about to copy Ferrari's most controversial and decisive move, but quietly improving it? Because while everyone was looking at the technical mastery of the famous SF26 blown exhaust, in Woking they were already preparing their own version, one that could completely change the balance of forces on the grid. The big question is, are we facing a simple replica, or the move that can dethrone Ferrari's advantage? The McLaren movement was not born by chance, it was born out of necessity, and above all, for survival in a Formula One where every thousandth defines championships. It all begins at the exact moment Ferrari reveals its secret weapon, the blown exhaust. A solution that not only surprises with its creativity, but also with its immediate impact on performance, generating an advantage that under normal conditions could make differences of up to half a second per lap. And in a sport where distances are minimal, that is not an improvement. It is a direct threat. McLaren, which had just consolidated itself as one of the most solid teams after its aggressive evolution since 2024, understood the message instantly. This team is not in the reconstruction phase, it is in the conquest phase. His car had already proven to be competitive thanks to constant development and a very clear technical philosophy, where practically every area of the car was optimized to open up new performance opportunities. But the problem is that in Formula One it's not enough to be good. You need to respond when someone changes the rules of the game. And Ferrari did it. From that moment on, the paddock goes into a state of silent alert, but McLaren goes one step further. Don't just observe, start investigating. And this is where one of the most important moments in this story comes in: Suzuka. During the Japanese Grand Prix, the team installs specific sensors in the exhaust area, seeking to understand how hot gases behave, how they flow, how they interact with the rear aerodynamics. This is not a simple data collection. It is the beginning of a complete redesign. Because when a team starts measuring something with that level of precision, it is because they have already made a decision. Develop your own version. But what's really interesting is not that McLaren wants to replicate the concept. It's how it's going to do it. Unlike other teams that might try to directly copy Ferrari's solution, McLaren opts for a smarter path, reinterpreting the system. Adapt it to your own architecture, your own aerodynamic balance, your own way of understanding the car. This completely changes the scenario because we are not talking about a copy that seeks to match, but rather an evolution that could surpass. And this fits perfectly with the team's recent identity. McLaren has shown that its greatest strength is not just developing fast, but developing better. We already saw it with their meteoric rise after the 2024 Miami GP, where a package of improvements completely transformed their performance until they became a reference in the championship. Now, history repeats itself, but with a much greater level of complexity. Because integrating a blown exhaust system is not simply changing a part. It involves redesigning the rear of the car, understanding how gases affect aerodynamic flow, how they interact with the diffuser, how stability is maintained in different acceleration phases. It is an extremely delicate balance, where any mistake can lose more performance than it gains. And yet, McLaren is willing to take that risk. Because they know that doing nothing would be much worse. With a clear objective on the horizon, Miami. The point chosen to introduce this update package, a key moment in the calendar where teams traditionally bring important evolutions. And if everything works as they hope, they will not only be responding to Ferrari, they will be entering directly into the fight for technical dominance. What we are seeing in this first act is not just a response, it is the beginning of a war. A battle where Ferrari's innovation has forced McLaren to move, but where the real unknown is who will best understand this new tool. Because copying can get you closer, but reinterpreting can make you win. Whenever you want, I recommend expanding this first block to go even deeper into how exactly the system works and why it is so difficult to master without making mistakes. The problem for McLaren is not understanding the idea. It is making it work without breaking the entire balance of the car. Because the blown exhaust is not an isolated improvement that is added and that's it. It is a system that directly alters the way in which the car generates downforce in its most sensitive area, the rear. Ferrari understood this from the beginning, and that is why its concept does not revolve solely around the exhaust, but an entire technical ecosystem that surrounds it. They have managed to generate a constant, controlled, and perfectly usable flow of gases at key moments such as corner exit or acceleration phases, something that does not happen by chance, but due to a total integration between engine and aerodynamics. And this is where McLaren faces its biggest challenge. Because replicating the blown effect involves redesigning multiple areas of the car at the same time. It is not enough to modify the exhaust outlet, you have to understand how that hot flow interacts with the diffuser, how it affects stability in fast corners, how it influences traction, and, above all, how to prevent the car from becoming unpredictable. It is an extremely fragile balance, where a gain in load can become a loss of control if it is not perfectly managed. And this is the point where many teams would fail. But McLaren is not improvising. The work they began at Suzuka was not just to collect basic data, it was to build a solid foundation that allows them to anticipate problems before they appear on the track. Sensors, thermal measurements, flow analysis. Everything indicates that they are developing a much more refined version from the beginning. They are not simply looking to catch up with Ferrari, they are looking to avoid the mistakes that normally appear when you introduce such a complex solution in the middle of the season. And here appears a key factor that can change everything: McLaren's development philosophy. Unlike Ferrari, which designed its concept from scratch around the blown exhaust, McLaren starts from an already extremely competitive base. Your car comes from an aggressive evolution where virtually every component was optimized to maximize overall performance. This means that any change must be integrated without breaking the balance that worked so hard to build. And that makes this move a high-risk bet, because if they do it right, they can make a huge leap in performance. But if they do it wrong, they could destabilize an already working car and lose more than they win. In Formula One, innovation always has a price, and McLaren is willing to pay it. Meanwhile, inside the paddock, tension grows. Other teams observe, analyze, but still do not act with the same clarity. McLaren is the first to seem determined to respond directly, which puts them in a unique position. They can become the team that truly challenges Ferrari's early lead. And all this with a date marked in red. Miami, that will be the moment of truth, where we will stop talking about theories, simulations, and tests, to see if this concept really works in real racing conditions. Because it is one thing to understand the system on paper, and quite another to make it perform under pressure, with tire wear, temperature changes, and traffic on the track. This is where everything is defined. Because if McLaren gets their version of the blown exhaust working out of the box, they won't just be matching Ferrari, they'll be proving they can adapt faster, develop better, and execute with greater precision. And in that moment, the narrative changes completely. Ferrari would stop being the only innovator, and become the team that has to defend itself. And then we reach the point where everything stops being theory, and becomes reality: Miami. This is where McLaren puts its riskiest bet on the table. No more simulations, no more hidden sensors collecting data. Now the whole world will see if your interpretation of blown exhaust works or not. And most importantly, if it can really stand up to the concept that Ferrari introduced and that completely changed the technical landscape of Formula One. But this moment goes far beyond a simple update. Because if McLaren's system works from the first weekend, the impact can be immediate. We would be talking about a team that not only manages to replicate a complex innovation in record time, but could also better integrate it into a car that was already competitive. That would mean one thing very clear: McLaren would not only catch up to Ferrari, it could surpass it. And that is the scenario that really worries within the paddock. Because Ferrari would have to respond. They would no longer be the only team with that technical advantage, and they would also lose the surprise factor. From that moment on, the battle would stop being one of innovation, and would become a war of development, where every update, every adjustment, and every detail would make the difference between winning or being left behind. But there is the other scenario. The one that nobody wants, but that is just as possible. If McLaren fails in the implementation, if the system does not adapt correctly to its architecture, if the car loses stability or becomes unpredictable, then everything can fall apart. Because introducing such a delicate concept in the middle of the season can break the balance that worked so hard to build. And in that case, not only would they not gain an advantage, they could retreat. That's what makes this moment so critical. There is no middle ground. Or it works, and they change the course of the championship. Or it fails, and gives Ferrari an even bigger advantage. Meanwhile, the rest of the teams watch. They analyze every movement, every data, every behavior on the track. Because what McLaren does in Miami can define the technical direction of the rest of the grid. If it works, everyone will try to follow that path. If it fails, many will take a step back. And therein lies the true magnitude of what is at stake. This is no longer just a battle between Ferrari and McLaren. It is a decision that can mark the technical future of Formula One in this new era. Because when an innovation proves to be effective, it stops being an advantage, and becomes the new standard. And McLaren is just one race away from deciding if that standard changes, or if Ferrari continues to dominate the game. If you want, I recommend expanding on this last block to delve even deeper into the long-term consequences and how this battle can evolve throughout the season. What started as a brilliant innovation from Ferrari has unleashed something much bigger. A chain reaction that could completely redefine the direction of Formula One. Because this isn't just about a blown exhaust, it's about who best understands the future of this new technical era. McLaren has shown that it is not here to observe, it is here to respond. And he has done so following his own philosophy, not to copy but to reinterpret. That decision is what can make the difference between simply matching Ferrari or surpassing it. Because when a team manages to integrate a foreign idea into its own concept more efficiently, that is where the true advantages are born. But the key to all this is that the result is neither immediate nor guaranteed. McLaren's success will depend on its ability to balance an already competitive car while introducing one of the most complex solutions in the paddock. And that delicate point is where championships are decided, in execution. If they achieve this, they will not only be neutralizing Ferrari's advantage, they will be sending a clear message to the entire grid. They are the team that evolves the best, the one that understands the fastest, and the one that adapts the best. But if they fail, they will have taken an unnecessary risk that could cost them dearly in the fight for the title. And therein lies the essence of this story. Ferrari struck first, but McLaren has decided to respond. Now we just have to see who executes better. Because in Formula One, innovation starts the battle, but it is development that decides who wins the war. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.